Sure seems like we see the word democracy used an awful lot these days. But what does it mean anymore? For example, the president is catching some heat because the Helms-Burton bill set aside some money for so-called democracy building in Cuba, but most of this money has yet to be distributed. We're told that the Cuban system is not democratic. We're told that Fidel Castro is a dictator, and we're told that right-wing business interests in Miami and elsewhere, bent on destroying the Cuban Revolution, are democratic. Does any of this make any sense? To begin with, the right and right-wing are terms from the French Revolution referring to those in the original Revolutionary Assembly who physically sat on the right-hand side of the hall. These people were those with money and historic influence who were suspicious of including the masses of the people in decision-making. Those on the right felt that those with money and property should make the decisions. As was the case with our own founding fathers, they were concerned that a government that represented the unpropertied could challenge their freedom of action. On the other side of the hall, the left side, were those who thought that the franchise should be extended to all, regardless of their property holdings. Thus, we have come to use the terms left and right to refer to positions on government and its relationship to property, or more properly, capital. The right claims that it's about the rights of individuals. They just fail to mention that they only care about individuals with money. The right, which represents capital, has always been suspicious of democracy, of including everyone in government. They have always believed that the government represents a threat to their freedom, freedom to pursue their economic interests. Those with property rejected the power of the monarchy to set all the rules and thought they should decide. The wealthy getting together and voting on policy is a kind of democracy, but it is the democracy of the few, oligarchy. However, removing power from its traditional roots in the aristocracy meant granting some power to small property holders and over time to those with no property. This extension of the franchise, the extension of democracy, is a threat to the freedom of capital. And so these days, we're told that the problem is big government. The right, as it has always done, says that the government is a threat to property, that government ruins things, that the government controls us. Government is the compromise the ruling class makes with the working class. The ruling class retains power but gives up some freedom, like the freedom to pollute or use child labor or to make dangerous products. The right claim that the market will sort all of this out and that the government just gets in the way. Some working people and small farmers have been saying this too. The right, which in modern history is known as fascism, advocates a system in which those with wealth are free to do as they please, and that the functions of government be relegated only to policing and war. Some self-described conservatives reject the term fascism because they claim that the fascists were statists who believed in retaining the power of government. Some people are ignorant of history. Fascism has always been about protecting the rights of private property, of capital. The police and army are necessary to protect corporations, but human services are not. The right, in all of its forms, regardless of how it calls itself, wants less government in the areas that serve human beings, but just as much or more government in the areas that protect capital and the pursuit of private profit. Ironically, the political philosophy of the right, fascism, has been so discredited by history that contemporary so-called conservatives refuse to identify their politics with its roots in European history. Of course, even 70 years ago the philosophy didn't carry much water, so much so that the leading German exponent of conservatism, Adolf Hitler, called his fascist party the National Socialist German Workers' Party. It was national in the sense that the Nazis were ultimately protecting large German corporations against corporations from other nations, but the word socialist came in only because Hitler felt he could appeal to working people through appropriating the monikers of the left. Today, the fascists call themselves Democrats. As a result, right-wing groups in Miami that advocate the overthrow of a popularly installed government in Cuba are lining up for money to pursue so-called democracy building. Capitalists claiming to be Democrats rings as true to reality as fascists claiming to be socialists. Capitalists are, and always have been, fascists, that is, rightists who believe that the rich should be free to do as they please. Socialists are, and always have been, Democrats, that is, leftists who believe every citizen should have power. As Jim Hightower put it, there's nothing in the middle of the road but yellow stripes and dead armadillos. This is Richard Curtis.